It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. Thanks for being here, friends. My name is Mike Bernard. I am your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the program. Right here with me in the KFG studios, my business partners and fellow CFPs, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
What role, if any, should Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies play in your financial life and your financial plan? And is the attention worth it? And should you get in early on this investment while you can? If you got in today, would that be considered early or would that be considered late? Is this pure speculation? Or are you better off just ignoring all the hype? We're going to share our perspectives and more, dispensing financial wisdom over the radio waves here this hour of the Wise Money Show.
That was quite a monologue there. I'm impressed.
I had more.
Yeah, I bet you did. We're finally doing it, guys. We're doing a show about Bitcoin. That's right. Hey, I expect there will be lots of questions. I will probably have all of them. Just kidding. If you have questions for us, reach out. We'd love to help you. You can call or text 574-222-2000. It's 574-222-2000. Online, wisemoneyshow.com. Submit questions right there on the right and catch up on other content. And then all over social media, search the Wise Money Show, subscribe, and leave questions there. All right. Where do you want to start, Kevin? We're doing a show about Bitcoin. Okay. We're going to apply it to your financial life, to your financial plan, help make it actionable. But this thing is so confusing. It seems like we got to start at the basement.
It is very confusing. And but here's the thing. There are a number of trapdoors in the basement. I think the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So there's all these doors that you could walk through. So I recently went to Miami with my boys, and we went to the Bitcoin conference. And that's something that typically, I love going to conferences, and the three of us have gone to many, many, many different conferences and eaten pizza in these different cities all over the country. Some really good pizza. Yep. But I wouldn't have gone to this one except my son Joshua, who spent 3 years in the Army, and while he was doing that, he started getting interested in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And at first, I was very dismissive, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, you just ignore that. Do not pay any attention to that." But the places that he hangs out online and the things that he was learning about suggested, no, this is something that you should learn about. And I've also had a few other anecdotal things where I have a very good friend whose brother got in really early. And his name is Satoshi, right? Satoshi Nakamura. And so we're talking about
him?
stacking sets. So anyway, my friend's brother got in early, and my friend has been asking me, "What do you think?" Because my brother's in, and his brother keeps buying cars and doing all this other stuff with this money as the cryptocurrency, which was Bitcoin. He got into Bitcoin at like $9, and it's gone. It was a few months ago it was at 65, and it was down to 32, and it's been bouncing around. It's fascinating because the question is, if it's cryptocurrency, this is the thing. It's almost ununderstandable. So if it's a cryptocurrency, a lot of people are talking about, investing in cryptocurrency. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I don't invest in the dollar. Like, I have dollars. I have dollars in my wallet. I have dollars in the bank. I have things that I've exchanged dollars for. It could be stocks. It could be other assets. Those are investments. But I don't think, hey, when I put money into the dollar, it's worth $1 today, but it could be worth 50 cents tomorrow. And yet there are some people that are saying that dollar is going to be worth $10, before long. So it's very interesting to understand. And Bitcoin, if you go back to the origin, Bitcoin, the idea is DeFi, decentralized finance, where right now, if you look, we have centralized finance, where it's it's determined what happens in our financial markets and systems is determined by a government. And so in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a white paper when he saw all of the things that were happening in 2008 in the financial system.
And not like, oh, this is painful. No, it was in response to bailouts. It was in response to money printing. It was in response to this centralized authority having complete control. And what we don't recognize, especially because there's been a surge of money printing happening right now, as more dollars get printed, you don't have any control over that, choice over that. And in reality, there's a lot of other things moving at the same time. But if they weren't moving, if it was in isolation, the dollars you own are technically worth less when more dollars are printed.
There's serious crisis moments that happen around the globe in often smaller countries where they just start printing money and they can completely make a currency worthless.
Right.
And it can create and stir up a lot of fears in a lot of investors, even here in the U.S., that, well, what if? What if that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, you have to, and you say that, because you can go back and look at Weimar Germany. You can look at all of these Venezuela. So there are examples of that actually happens. Zimbabwe. I mean, go on down the line. So you say, what is our currency pegged to? And right now we have. If you get into it, so at the Bitcoin conference, I mean, no one called it a dollar. No one called it money. They called it fiat.
Fiat. Yeah.
So fiat is a Latin word that means by decree. So
this has value because I say it does. So trust me, and we're trusting in that centralized authority. And so DeFi is decentralized finance, meaning you don't have to trust in that authority. It's decentralized.
Right. And the blockchain is what has really made all of this possible, because you can go back and see where the first transaction with Bitcoin was a guy that traded 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas. And that 10,000 Bitcoins would be worth, 100 million whatever dollars today.
Still regretting that.
Yeah. I hope it was good pizza.
I can't. It was Barnaby's. It was really good. But I'm just kidding. And then Bitcoin has sort of taken on a life of its own, and we're going to help you apply it to your financial life. But I mean, there's a question of, can it become true currency, or is it an investment, or is it late? Is it early? Where are we in this? So what else would you add to kind of the foundational explanation of Bitcoin?
Yeah, you know what? That is a question. I'm curious to hear how Kevin would answer this, because I struggled to answer that question for my wife. She recently said, well, what is Bitcoin? And I tried to explain blockchain to her and explain, well, what Bitcoin is and its purpose and everything. And I think I have her more confused now than ever before. But it's not like explaining the stock market to your kids. This is way more complicated.
It is way more complicated, because it may be simple in concept, but the actual thing itself is incredibly complicated. But just recently, El Salvador becomes the first country to approve Bitcoin as legal tender. So until these things start to happen, and until it's easy to invest in Bitcoin, and I'm saying invest in Bitcoin when you're like, oh, it's a currency, dude. Are you seriously investing? No, just trading fiat for DeFi.
Mm-hmm. And there's some local ATMs where you can do this. There's some exchanges. Can we actually trust them? So I don't know, guys. We're 9 minutes in. I don't know if we've
haven't even scratched
the ball
the surface.
9 minutes. But a lot more to come. But again, applying Bitcoin to your financial life. We got that and more coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show. You're at the Wise Money Show channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications, smash that thumbs up button. What you're watching right now is our 1-hour talk show that airs right here on this channel at 10 a.m. every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Also on podcast, so if you listen to those, check that out. And then all throughout the week, if you're not into a 1-hour episode dealio on YouTube, check out our Next Wise Step videos. This is content that drops on this channel all throughout the week, taking one or a handful of financial concepts, applying it directly to your financial life, helping you take your next wise step. So if that's your jam, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. And I tell you, we're breaking down. There's lots of channels out there devoted completely to Bitcoin. That's not this show. This show is about taking wise financial steps, okay? Making wise financial decisions, doing comprehensive financial planning. The question is, how does Bitcoin fit into that? That's what we're answering today. So thanks for being here. Okay,
so I would want to just...
How would you synthesize? So that's what I would tell you to use a few moments to just, okay, here's how we plumb line it, and then so we can move forward. Because
I don't know. I mean, I'm tempted to say, well, there's two directions that we need to go. It feels like it's like, okay, talking about briefly, what is money? What is then therefore what is Bitcoin? And then I would go to the reason why we're doing the show, because the reason why we're doing the show is there are tons of folks that are saying, hey, what is Bitcoin? Or I know what Bitcoin is, but when I was preparing for the show and I was reading the comments on this article about the 401k that allows you to have 5% in crypto, there was a comment about a guy that was 60, so he could pull money out of his 401k. He pulled $200,000 out and put it in at Bitcoin at $64,000 per Bitcoin. Yep. So at $200,000, you buy 3 and change. Well, then all of a sudden it goes to be worth half that. And
I'm not sure you can buy cryptos or Bitcoin within an IRA just yet. So
you can.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
So
I was going to say, because you gave a chunk of that to Uncle Sam. And
No. I'm assuming. Well, yeah. So that I'm assuming he didn't. I'm assuming
he rolled the money over.
Right.
Into
He's using a custodian to do that.
Which custodians? For an IRA?
Well, they exist.
Okay.
I Trust Capital is one of them. There are a number of custodians that are basically just crypto, and these companies are popping up like crazy, like right now. Yeah. Like right now, history is being made as we speak, and this show is, as soon as we're done with this show is going to be obsolete.
Yeah. Okay, so is that the route you want to go? Money?
I'd say Bitcoin? Money. To me, I would say money, and then is this money or is it an investment? It's supposed to be money. If it's supposed to be money, then you wouldn't think of it as an investment. It seems to me to be way too early on to know what to do. But again, I remember clients coming to me and saying, "Hey, should we invest in Google? We want to buy some Google shares in the IPO."
I didn't even know what it was at that point yet.
Well, I knew what it was, but I'm like the I don't know if it was Sergey Brin or one of the founders had done an interview with Playboy and talked about something about the valuation, and it looked like the SEC was going to come in and do something. I'm like, look, there's risk here. You don't know, right?
Yeah.
So in hindsight, the smartest thing they could have ever done was take all their money and put it in Google stock. Mm. So this is the problem. I mean, right now we could be talking about Google stock at the, but this is why you would diversify, and if you certainly wouldn't go all in with Bitcoin or any other, and you would continue this learning journey.
Succinctly, let's take that route as succinctly as we can. Yeah, it's hard.
It's very kind of you to say it like that, Mike, but I don't know it's possible.
What role should Bitcoin play in your financial plan, in your financial life? Is this pure speculation? Are people nuts to consider this? Or should you have some? I mean, should it play a role? That's what we're talking about right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. Here with me in the KFG studios, Kevin Corhorn and Josh Gregory. Make sure you catch up on all episodes, all previous episodes on podcast, wherever you listen. Check it out. Search Wise Money Show. Subscribe to it there. Rate the show as well. We appreciate it. So we're talking about Bitcoin and finally doing an episode on it, trying to lay the foundation and then talk about, well, what role should it play in your financial life? So Kevin, continue us on this journey.
Yeah, and I'm going to just do a quick disclaimer before I do. So a lot of the things that we talk about on this show, we have spent our lives in our careers studying, and they're tested and proven. And so there are a lot of times that we'll talk about principles, and they work. The principles work, the guiding principles you follow, and other things. And there are certain products that have worked and other things like this. This, I would say, on a scale of 1 to 100, I'm probably like at 2.5 as far as understanding how all this stuff works.
And that's after hours and hours. I
have spent voluminous amounts of time, because my favorite thing to do is to kind of putter around the farm with my headphones on and listen to stuff. And so I've listened to Michael Saylor, who's the CEO of MicroStrategies. MicroStrategies put $500 million. They put their whole corporate treasury into Bitcoin. And then they actually borrowed another $500 million and created a convertible stock offering and put that into Bitcoin as well. And so he makes a compelling case. And the confusing thing is, does he make a compelling case because he believes it,
right,
or does he make
He's fully vested now, right? He needs the rest of the world to believe it too.
I don't know. I don't know what things that I could do that would be considered career risk, but I'm going to say if I took the $1 billion in the KFG corporate treasury
right.
and put that into Bitcoin, you guys might want me to go and start talking about Bitcoin as well.
I think that's fairly telling about where we're at right now with crypto and Bitcoin, right? That's pretty telling. Like it's wild. It's completely fascinating, and it certainly has potential. We just don't know if that potential will be realized or not. It's pure speculation.
You don't know that. And if you go back to those principles that Kevin was mentioning, we've spent our careers studying principles and trying to apply them to clients' financial lives and to our own lives. We want to eat our own cooking, right? Mm-hmm. And when you look at some of those principles, it's harder to see where does Bitcoin or cryptocurrency fall within the financial plan also. Is this an emergency fund? Not if your emergency fund can get cut in half.
That would
right
be an
at the
emergency.
time you need it.
That would be an emergency.
It would be a different definition for emergency.
And that's the other
fund.
question. Like, is it truly a currency yet? Because to me, for my dollars, I'm setting money aside, let's say for a new car, and I feel like I need X amount of dollars for a new car. Well, if I finally save that much money up, and then the next day I want to go buy the car, and that currency's down 15%, I now can't buy the car. Like I can't. It moves so rapidly, so volatilely. It's almost untrustworthy as a currency yet.
So right. So one, like we said earlier, El Salvador became the first country to approve Bitcoin as legal tender. As countries approve Bitcoin as legal tender, and then I believe there will be smaller countries that will say that not only is this legal tender, this is our this is our currency. So we are no longer pegged to the dollar, because the thing is, if you're pegged to the dollar, as a country, there's a lot of control. There's central control right now over what happens with the dollar and how it works, and it's manipulated. So when you look at money and you think about money, there are more than 5, but there are 5 properties. Is it divisible? Well, Bitcoin is divisible. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin that are mined. Right now they're mining them. Those will be being mined in the year 2140. So tune in for that show to hear.
2140 or 2040?
2140.
Okay.
And I think, and this is what I'd say, if we make any mistakes that we make on the show, I would want you to reach out to Mike Bernard and let him know. So it needs to be divisible, durable, recognizable, portable, and scarce. So divisible, yeah. one Bitcoin is divisible into 1 million Satoshis. So they talk about stacking sats, right? So sat, they shorten Satoshi into sats. And so you stack sats. So it's divisible, it's durable, it's recognizable, it's portable, and it's scarce. There's only ever going to be 21 million made. So Bitcoin fits all of those. And a lot of people would compare Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, depending on the day that you look at the valuation, but Bitcoin is worth $1 trillion. Bitcoin got to $1 trillion before Apple, Google, a number of these other technology companies. So, and certainly Bitcoin is not a tech company, so it's not a perfect comparison. But the how quickly it became worth $1 trillion is something to take notice of. And there's about $12 trillion of gold. And if you want, so I would say if you're listening and this doesn't make any sense or you're curious, YouTube has voluminous amounts of videos on this. One of my favorite videos is watching Michael Saylor debate with a guy that's a big gold guy. So Michael Saylor's a big crypto guy, Bitcoin crypto, and he debates with this other guy about this. So I look at this and I say, well, what role does it have to play in my financial life? Man, you tell me. Like what role? It does sometimes feel like, well, what role does the blue chip casino have in my financial life, or the when I'm at the gas station and I know the lottery is up to 500 million, like what role does that have to play?
You're pointing out like the speculation, the risk, the uncertainty.
Yes.
Right.
Well, that's exactly right. But when we have folks ask us whether or not whether they should be purchasing Bitcoin, I feel like we have to ask them, well, what are you hoping it will do for you? Because that starts to reveal how they're thinking it fits in their financial plan. Well, I just want to hold on to it in case something goes bad in the world. Okay, so you're thinking of this as an emergency fund, as a place to store value for some unexpected event. Is a Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency the best place or the best tool to achieve that? If instead they say, well, man, have you seen how much money people are making in this thing? I need to make some money here. I need to make some money fast. Okay, you're hoping that this is some sort of growth engine for you in your financial life. And do you know what it is that's going to drive that growth? Is there something tangible that you can point to that says, okay, I understand what will cause this to play out the way that I think it will? How you think of it or what you hope it does for you is revealing to us and to yourself what you hope for. And then the question boils down to, well, is that the right tool for the job ultimately? Do you need to be using Bitcoin or another crypto and hoping that it really balloons in value for you so that you can achieve your goals? And sometimes, unless you fully understand it, there might be a better tool for you at this point in the game. But I'm with you, Kevin, that if it's something that you hope will fit in your life at some point, you have to begin educating yourself on this and know it inside and out. Study this thing.
Yep. And my response to this is the same when someone says, does Bitcoin have a role to play in my financial life? Does gold have a role to play? Does real estate have a role to play? My answer to those three questions is the same.
All right. We got more on Bitcoin in your financial life. That and more coming up on The Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. I was trying to find, I've got a chart here that shows, I don't know if we can put it up on the YouTube.
Are you going to give your answer?
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Because you hinted at, that was a perfect cliffhanger in my mind.
Yep.
My answer is the same to all three. Well, wait, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you answer that question for your clients, for your sons and daughter?
I've got some real estate to sell you, some gold to sell you, and some Bitcoin to sell you. It'll be a slight 30% markup.
Yeah, I can't find it. I've got a chart that shows all the drawdowns, and it's massive. It's, despite the amazing rise, there have been catastrophic drops in Bitcoin.
Every year, right?
Dude, when Josh and I were at the Bitcoin conference, the technology conference in San Diego before the cough. So it was in February?
Global cough. That's
February of 2020. Mm-hmm. We were blissfully ignorant of what was actually brewing, the storm brewing on the horizon. So I went to this thing with Rick Edelman, and Bitcoin was at 9,000, 9,500. It'd come down from 20,000.
Right.
So it was at 9,000, and you leave something like that, and you're like, oh, I have to invest in this. I have got to get some exposure to this. And then, the fog of life happens, and so you don't get invested. And it's certainly not easy to get invested in. You're like, do I want to invest in the real deal? Do I want to invest in a derivative of? What do I want to do? Well, then Bitcoin goes from 9,500 to 3,800.
Yeah, to 3, yeah.
And you're like, well, wait a minute. What should I do there? And then it goes from 3,800 to 53,000.
Right.
And so that's massive.
And then 63 or 65, and then down to 32. Almost, I think I almost got to 30.
It might have kissed 30 or even 29, but it bounced.
Would it have done that if we didn't have a pandemic and all this printing of money to strike fear into people's lives?
And maybe we'll get into this in the third segment, but we've done a couple shows on, hey, if we're going to see inflation, what tools do you use? And lots of people have said, what about Bitcoin? I can't believe you didn't say Bitcoin, but it's too early. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense that Bitcoin or crypto, as not being fiat, would help with inflation. It's just speculation is driving it right now.
But and so because because what is it tied to? It's not. And you're like, well, wait a minute. That's the same thing with the dollar. What is it tied to? It's not.
Yeah, the advantage it has is it can't be manipulated by, the special interest of a certain government.
It's not controlled because they talk about the U.S. Treasury creating its own digital currency, and China's already done this. But here's the problem: when that starts coming close to universal basic income, and so you say, well, this is what we've seen through the pandemic: is when people get kind of universal basic income, which was unemployment, there's not enough people to work to power the economy. So the economy kind of stinks and struggles a little bit.
That concept there, and I don't know if we need to have this on the air, if this is just bonus material, but the idea of central governments creating their own cryptocurrency, that feels like an oxymoron to me. Mm-hmm. Like how can a central government create a decentralized?
No, it's not. It's not decentralized. Because Josh, I'm going to put that $1,000 in your wallet, and I'm going to limit the things that you can spend it on. Mm-hmm. And if you don't spend it all by the end of the month, it expires. Mm-hmm. So you don't have it anymore.
Right. Some of the advantages of Bitcoin and cryptos, a central government digital currency would not have those benefits.
Right. So why would we like that?
Which is the case to be made for, well, why would I have Bitcoin if central governments are just going to create their own? Well, they won't be able to create their own fully.
Or why would a central government bless Bitcoin when they're essentially giving up control?
Well, if you said, why would a central government bless it? Because the central government says that there's no way. It's CBDC, central bank digital currency. That's what they want. But the banks are looking, because all a bank is really is a ledger. But the thing is, the ledger of the bank, the ledger of the Fed are not accessible. Like, you can't see it. I can go see the $10,000, the 10,000 Bitcoin exchange for 2 pizzas. The thing that I can't see is who did it, right? It was Mike Bernard and Barnaby's.
Well, you can't. That's right. You can't even see that it was for 2 pizzas.
Right.
You can just see that it went to a pizza place.
No.
It was just from this, from basically
Correct.
this.
So maybe someone made that story
Which
up.
is my...
It's just folklore.
No, the person posted it. Like basically, it was the first transaction, so he needed to say, "Hey, I'd like to buy 2 pizzas with Bitcoin. Who's up for this?"
I gotcha.
For 10,000. So
right.
okay. So third segment.
So
we've got to draw some sort of conclusion, but we'll have a fourth segment on this as well. I'd like to get into the risks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And then
these risks?
Yeah.
Dude, these are lightning rods.
Good.
I mean, I love it. Like
Good.
This is yeah.
Mike Bernard's inbox going to blow up.
Yeah. Let's do it. We're talking about Bitcoin. That's as much introduction as you need. We're talking about Bitcoin and what role it should play in your financial life. Right now, we're getting into the risks. All right. So thanks for being here. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. My name's Mike Bernard. Here with me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Make sure you check us out on the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search the Wise Money Show. You'll see Kevin right now wearing a shirt that says, "To the moon, pay with crypto."
Are you getting paid to wear that?
No, he's not. In crypto.
Like a billboard there.
It's almost it was a free T-shirt. That's almost like getting paid.
So,
and because to the moon. So the two sayings that came out of the Bitcoin conference in Miami, and because I can hear them because there's a room full of people that are kind of crazy, and to the moon, and whenever anyone said anything negative about Bitcoin, then people would say
tarred and feathered.
No, but they'd say have fun staying poor.
yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness!
All right, so
Did they have special Kool-Aid for you to drink too?
This is the
They gave us a pill when we walked in.
All right, so let's talk. Okay, so we're still traveling down the road of what is Bitcoin and then what role should it play in your financial life. But here's what I want to talk about right now. What are the risks? Because I think people are completely fascinated with. I mean, Josh, when you say, "Hey, what role do you want it to play in your financial life? What are you hoping it will do for you?" I'm hoping it goes from 3,800 to 65,000 like it did last year, right? I'm hoping that when I buy it at 30, it goes to 300,000. Of course, we're all hoping that. So then what are the risks? To me, the number one risk or the top risk is fraud.
Yes.
I've told Kevin, I am absolutely fascinated by I'm actually very concerned about all the money printing. I am concerned about that centralized control. I am, not because I'm aluminum foil, tin hat wearing. I just am concerned with that. However, if you were to go buy Bitcoin, how do you know that you actually have it? How do you, like, all the scams out there to draw people in and whatever, and then even the pseudo anonymity here that you can see transactions on the ledger, you just don't know who paid whom for what. And you've got all sorts of risk of people being taken advantage of, illegal activities happening, and fraud. And so that is my concern. If you can't trust the currency, can it actually have value?
Well, right. And so that's the question for cryptocurrency, but let's just talk about fiat, because the US dollar arguably is the greatest tool for fraud and money laundering in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
And
it's used everywhere.
and
right?
so you would say, hey, this isn't a new thing. It would just be different. And
Yeah, I mean this is the problem, because if people want to pay in cash for something, and then that transaction is as if it didn't happen.
Right.
So you're kind of talking though about the anonymity being used for terrible uses around the globe.
Well, it does. So I could pay a teenager $25 to mow my lawn, but you could also go to a bad place and give someone $25 for fentanyl. And who knows that happened and what the difference is. Because the interesting thing is, when you look at Bitcoin, to me it seems like, and again, if you're listening and you totally disagree, that's fine, but it seems like Bitcoin is the legitimate cryptocurrency, and then there are all of the rest. And it seems like the Bitcoin is more of a movement. I think to some people it's almost a religion and other things. And I look at the other cryptocurrencies, and those are speculation. Hey, I want to get rich. Hey, I want to buy doggy coin at 13 cents and ride it to 50 cents until Elon says something. And so to me, there's really two camps. There's the camp that really believes in DeFi, decentralized finance, and that is the Bitcoin camp. And then to me, there's all of the others.
So when you said fraud, though, the thing that my mind went to was how secure is it to trade my hard-earned dollars? Like I know what I received in my paycheck. I know what's in my bank. And if I trade it in for Bitcoin, do I know that transaction and that exchange is happening with a reputable firm? We get that question all the time. When clients come in, there's an initial, okay, tell me how and why I can trust you.
Right.
When I place my hard-earned dollars into this investment account that you're proposing, how do I know that it's really there and it's actually going to benefit me down the road? Well, I know, and I can give them all the reasons why our industry has certain watchdogs in place and why there's so many safety nets and why, we've intentionally protected against fraud or theft or something like that. I don't know those same safety nets and those same systems in place in this new world. It feels like the Wild Wild West for a lot of people because they don't understand it.
Right. And there aren't the layers built yet for crypto. It's not easily done yet. And so until that happens, and again, until it's readily accepted as currency, it's likely going to be much more along the lines of a incredibly speculative investment than it is an actual currency. And the fraud, to me, this is where you have to dive in and understand what Bitcoin is versus the other. And who knows? There might be something out there that's way better than Bitcoin that we're not talking about. I have no idea. But what I know is that there is speculation and pump and dump and these various things in a number of these cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm. What about governments making it illegal, or governments making their own central bank digital currency?
Yeah, so CBDC is coming. China already has it. The U.S. is working on it.
It just won't be decentralized, right? It will still be manipulated.
Well, with Bitcoin you can't create more.
Right.
With Dogecoin you could create every day. There's gazillions more being created. So
in a centralized digital currency, are you saying they would not be able to make more?
I'm saying they would absolutely make more.
But and that's why I say, well, don't we already have a digital currency? It's called the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
It's a tiny fraction of our currency that is actually bills and paper and coins.
So then could the U.S. then say, well, we're not making it legal tender, or somehow make it illegal?
They've tried, and China has tried as well. They've not been successful, and the decentralization means that as long as you have your own wallet and you keep it in your own storage, like you have it. There's a guy that has, 21 million. This is a famous guy. He out in San Francisco. He's put in the wrong password twice, and if he puts in the wrong password again, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And it's gone. It's
Yikes.
gone. And no one knows how many Bitcoin are gone and never to be seen or heard from again.
So what role should this play in your financial life? I would make sure, number one, it's not a distraction from you trying to achieve your overall financial goals, which can only really be crafted, the right strategy crafted, when you're looking at all 6 areas of your financial life together in synergy. Right now, there's just too much unknown. There's too much risk. There's rampant speculation. If you're curious, then we would argue, then start learning. Start learning. I don't know if we've even scratched the surface on that learning today for you, but start learning and explore this. Right? I mean, what would you add?
Yeah. Well, there aren't right now super easy ways to gain access to this, and even when you do, the costs associated with buying it aren't clear. So
yeah,
I would say get started.
All right. All right, we're going to keep the discussion going on Bitcoin, that and more, coming up on the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Yeah, this one's hard to have that 3-segment break and then go into the fourth, because we're going to pick it right back up.
Yeah, for one radio show, but
Right.
not the other.
All right. Okay. Let's get her going.
We've got to get deeper into the financial planning.
That's what I'd like to
right?
do this 13 minutes.
Okay, so do I want to answer the question
Yeah.
Yeah.
of what do I say?
About real estate,
Gold, crypto.
crypto. Yep.
Have fun staying poor.
All right. Should you hold Bitcoin? Should you? Kevin Korhorn said earlier, every time he's asked you, do you hold real estate? Do you hold gold? Now, do you hold Bitcoin? Provides the same answer. We're going to hear it. That and more right now. This is the Wise Money Show with Korhorn Financial Group. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Bernard. Like I said, Kevin Korhorn is in the room with us, along with Josh Gregory. If you've missed anything, stay up to date on all Wise Money content. Find us online, wisemoneyshow.com. Listen to episodes there. Submit questions there as well. All right, we're still breaking down Bitcoin. Gosh, we've run in circles several times, and so we're applying it right now. I mean,
We spent our career doing that way.
What role should it play in your financial plan? And as we attack that, Kevin, when someone's asking you,
Yeah, if someone asks me, should I invest in Bitcoin? Should I invest in gold? Should I invest in real estate? And there are other, racehorses. I mean, go on down the line. This is what I would say especially with gold. If you look at the price of gold, you could have bought gold for $800 in the 80s, and right now it's at $1,800. So if you look at gold purely as an investment, you would say, ooh, not necessarily a great investment. But the reason I believe that most of the folks, when they are asking those questions, they're concerned about a store of value more so than an investment. And so this is the tricky thing. And so I say, does it fit in your financial life? Does it fit into the context of your financial life? When you look at the 6 areas of financial planning, you look at your present financial position, your protection planning, tax planning, investment planning, retirement planning, estate planning. Does it fit? Because I don't like to, I want to make process decisions. And you're asking me to make a product decision. So again, if you are going someplace and they are recommending product, run.
Yeah.
If you go someplace and they're recommending process, you found a home. Yeah. So I say, find a financial advisor, make sure they're certified, create the blueprint for your financial life, and then the roadmap. Where am I? Because a lot of times, the thing that I've observed recently is a lot of folks that are coming in either 3 months before or 3 months after retirement. And I would encourage you, do not wait, because it is to a client, people say, the thing that I regret most is not starting earlier. So I would say get started earlier, have a plan that you're operating from. And then if you want to create space in your financial life to invest in speculative things, I would, because for instance, for gold, do I invest in physical gold? Do I invest in gold in a different way? And I'm like, well, to me, the only thing that makes sense is physical gold, because that way I know it's not being manipulated. But I can tell you this, owning and having physical gold doesn't make any sense.
Impractical, right?
It's totally impractical. And I can tell you, when the zombie apocalypse come, I don't have gold bullets, and I can't put gold in my gas tank. Like what do I? And I can't eat it.
Or grow gold beans to eat or something.
So this is the dilemma. Like, what is gold, and what happens when Elon Musk goes to Mars, lands on the asteroid that is made of gold, and brings it all back? What's that going to do to the price of gold?
That's interesting, and we haven't gotten into this yet. And the idea that, well, the dollar is fiat, has value because a central authority says it has value. And that's not good because they have all the power, they can manipulate and so on. Okay, so most people think, well, let's go back to the gold standard. Well, does gold have value? Well, not really. It's just that for thousands of years, for whatever reason, man, and by the way, man and woman, have been drawn to it for thousands of years. I can't really explain it, don't really understand why, but they've been drawn to it. For Bitcoin, will that maintain some lasting perceived value the way gold has?
And that's why, some of the objections to Bitcoin or other currencies, it does boil down to, well, what is its real life application or its use? And the coins themselves, we're using them as an exchange of value or a currency or whatever, but it's the technology that underlies the Bitcoin, the blockchain, that has real life value. It has purpose. If you could have an unchangeable ledger system that is, one that everyone can see who owned that house over the years. And yes, Kevin, you really do own that house, and it is unchangeable. It can't be taken from you or anything. A blockchain has purpose, and it's a new technology. A lot of people look at this and say, boy, this is like the internet was back in the early 90s. Like, this is just getting started. This is going to be transformative, this technology. And then built on top of that, you've got these cryptocurrencies that are springing up as well that also could have value. But how do you know which one is going to have legs to go the distance, right? To your point about gold being just something we're drawn to over time. But
which is interesting, right? So the fiat idea is, you've got this unlimited, you can print unlimited number. And one of the benefits of Bitcoin is there's only going to be 21 million?
Yep.
You said? But
which are divisible by a million.
When you look up the aggregate, all cryptos, there's apparently more crypto coins than there are dollars in circulation. And so it does seem like a horse or a couple horses will need to win in this race, because you could create a cryptocurrency right now.
Sure.
You could.
I mean, they created one, and they were passing out sunglasses and other things, the swag, to basically take down Elon Musk. And Anonymous has come out and said, "Hey, we're taking down Elon Musk." But when you think about this, there's about in all of history about 200,000 tons of gold have been mined, and 2/3 of that since the 1950s. But gold, if you looked at the market value of all gold out there, it's about 12 trillion. That is finite, and so it does make sense to some people. Hey, I want to own that. But the issue is, look at how many hundreds of millions of dollars JP Morgan and these other banks have paid in fines for manipulating these markets.
Yeah.
So this is where, well, if they're paying all this money in fines, it must be worth it to them.
And that is the problem with gold. I mean, you look back over its history, and it's basically kept up with inflation, or at least one measure of inflation, right?
Right.
But along the way, there have been stretches of time where it's skyrocketing or plummeting. But it always kind of comes back to, it's the reversion to the mean, or its basic trend line has been inflation. But along the way, when you hear stories about someone making a small fortune in gold because they were betting on it climbing in value, that does something to the human nature or the human spirit, and that is, well, boy, why am I not making money in this? Mm-hmm. It's the same feeling that we had back in 2007 when you'd hear about people flipping condos in Florida and making a small fortune in a short amount of time. Why am I not making money on this?
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
Right.
I better do that.
And so to me, having a financial plan, as Kevin said, a way for deciding whether or not this fits, defining what the job is and then deciding what the tool will be to achieve that job. That's what financial planning is.
Yes,
and the purpose of your financial advisor is to be the sounding board and the voice of reason through it all, to help kind of talk you off the ledge and to help you understand that, just because your brother-in-law has made a bunch of money in gold over the past few months, that doesn't mean it's going to keep going forever into the future, right? And again, what is the purpose of this supposed investment or speculation in your life? Is there a better way? That's what a financial advisor does in your life. And so, to me, the first step, if you think you're going to be marching into Bitcoin or crypto or other currencies, or if you want to start a real estate portfolio or something, who is it in your life that you're going to bounce that idea off of? Who's your sounding board? And what's the method or the process, as Kevin said, for deciding these things? That's your first decision. It's who are you going to trust to help you achieve the life that you want for yourself. That's what financial planning does.
So that's the first decision. And then if you are infatuated with Bitcoin or crypto, then probably before that decision or along with that decision, you're doing research and you're watching and reading and trying to learn as much as you can about Bitcoin. And then if you get to the point where you say, and working with your certified financial planner, I'm ready to do this. Then it's where and how, and I would stress diversification. Being careful, whether it's just play money or whether it's a small portion or something. Being careful not to be overexposed simply because we don't know. There's so much volatility; it's very uncertain. So what would you add? What would you add to that, guys?
No, I'd say your certified financial planner likely isn't going to be terribly helpful in helping you get invested into this. This is
they can't really do it.
No,
we can't do it.
And there are compliance reasons that prevent us from doing it. Now there is a 401k that's going to allow you this 401k is teamed up with Coinbase, and so you can, in theory, put 5% of your 401k into crypto, and that'll be coming out in July. As these things come out and become more mainstream, and there become layers of financial intermediaries, it will make more sense to exchange fiat for crypto as a store of value. Mm-hmm. But right now, I would sound the alarm, because most of the folks that are doing it because their brother-in-law bought the Lamborghini because he struck it rich, and they're like, well, wait a minute. I feel like I'm getting left behind. I want to hop on that bandwagon, and I would say it is wilder than the Wild Wild West.
I got the email from Venmo.
Yeah.
Use $1. You can invest in crypto with just $1.
Yep.
Have they partnered with an exchange or something like that?
I looked at the same thing, and again, here's where, because if you look at Robinhood, when Bitcoin became incredibly volatile, the sell button disappeared from your Robinhood app.
It's hard to trust.
So this is the problem with trusting Robinhood or Venmo or some of these other companies, is you don't know what the limitations are until they limit you.
Work with your certified financial planner as a sounding board. See what role this makes. This should make sense for you to have in your financial life. So, all right, that's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Josh Gregory, Kevin Corhorn, all of us at KFG, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for the Wise Money Show with Corhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Corhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.